Goalkeeper Willie McFaul was the Newcastle hero in the semi-final all British football wanted. His dramatic penalty save against Rangers in front of a 75,000 Ibrox crowd meant United escaped with a goalless draw in the first leg.
What I remember about it, the ball came through the middle. That was a Swedish player at the time that Rangers had. And I went out for it and I happened to hit him under the chin with my fist, so it was a penalty and I was fortunate enough to save it.
15 years on, McFaul is the only member of the First Cup side still at St James's Park. Goalkeeping is still his business, though these days it's as a coach to men like current reserve team keeper Martin Thomas. McFaul's been on the Gallagher backroom staff since hanging up his boots in 1975. Having spent the last 18 years on Tyneside, he knows as well as anyone what that First Cup triumph meant.
Winning a trophy of that calibre, you know, it's got to be a highlight, but, you know, I've had one or two. But in saying that, it's very important for Newcastle United. A lot of people have said to me that, you know, we should have went on, but we were in Europe for 3 seasons, and that meant a lot to the fans. It meant a lot as regards revenues for the club. We won Texaco Cups, Anglo-Italian and things like that there, but nothing major. Maybe we should have won something major.
United's failure to build on the success of '69 was hardly McFaul's fault. A safe, agile keeper, he made more than 350 first-team appearances and won 6 Northern Ireland caps, repaying many times over the bargain £7,000 fee he cost from Linfield in 1966. His performances during the First Cup run earned him a special place in the hearts of the Gallagher faithful. But did he expect to stay with Newcastle when he'd finished playing?
I was always interested in the game. Whether I was going to stay in it in a coaching capacity or not, you know, I didn't know. It was just opportunities at the time.
And of course you're now involved in the Newcastle revival. That must be very thrilling for you.
Yeah, you know, that has been my ambition since 1974, which a lot of people will remember with regret. That we can get the club in a level footing, and I think that this season I would like to think that it'll be right at the end of May.
The architecture may suggest Dallas, but this is downtown Dunston in Gateshead, where another of Newcastle's First Cup heroes now sells the North East's big football stories. On the day Malcolm Allison was sacked by Middlesbrough, the quiet man of the '69 side was going about his normal business as a newsagent. A cultured right-back, David Craig made more than 400 appearances in a 16-year career at St James's, which ended in 1978. His first business venture was a milk round with former teammate Ron Guthrie. There wasn't enough in it for 2, so Craig swapped one early rising job for another.
Yeah, and as most people, you know, in football who know me will probably tell you, I didn't like getting up very early in the morning. However, I've got myself accustomed to that now, and you know, I still don't like getting up, but once you get up and out, it's not so bad. I've got used to it, I think.
Any plans for expansion in this line?
Well, we would like to, yes. I've got a partner in this business, as you know, and at the minute we're negotiating to buy another shop, so hopefully that will go through shortly.
Away from the news, there's nothing better that David Craig likes than a game of golf. A steady 9 handicapper, he doesn't reckon his experience of playing in front of vast crowds at St James's makes him any less nervous when it comes to driving off the first tee in club competitions. And looking back on the Fairs Cup, Craig remembers what competition he had for the right back spot with John Craggs.
Well, it was really. Craggsy was a bit unfortunate, I suppose. He played the 2 games against Setubal, played very well. I watched the home game and John did very well in that game. And I watched the game at Ibrox when we drew 0 each. They didn't concede a goal, and for some reason or other I got back in the side for the second leg at home. And, well, we won that one 2-0 and went into the final. I consider myself very, very fortunate at the time, I must admit.
Having beaten off John Craggs' challenge, Craig kept his first-team place for another 6 seasons. He also won 25 caps for Northern Ireland. He was given a testimonial for loyal service in 1975. But did he consider then staying in the game once his playing days were over?
Well, I think there are only so many jobs available in football, aren't there? And when I finished at St James's, no one offered me a job, either playing or coaching. So, and anyway, I reached the stage where I'd been playing football, well, 18 years, and living from one year to the next on contract. I needed a little bit of stability in my life, so I said, well, I'm not going to chase around the 3rd and 4th divisions. for maybe 1 or 2 years. I want something that's going to be steady and settle myself down for the rest of my life.
The return leg against Rangers on May the 22nd was overshadowed by some of the worst scenes of crowd violence in the history of European competition. United won a fierce physical game 2-0, but their second goal was the cue for hordes of drunken Scottish fans to invade the field for the third time. Welsh referee John Gow took the players off as police with dogs tried to clear the pitch. Ollie Burton remembers the conversation he had with his fellow countrymen in the tunnel.
I was chatting to him and he said, I'm going to have to abandon this game. He said, there's no way we can go back out there. He was terrified. And I said, like hell, I said, we're going back out there. I think we were winning 1-0 or 2-0 at the time.
The really high spot of the game for me was when Ollie Burton, coming back to me with the ball, rolled the ball back to me and then shouted, run. And, not knowing what was going on, I just happened to take a glance over my shoulder and there was about 20 blokes chasing up the park after me. I've never moved as quickly in my life.
I think that's the only time I've ever really been frightened on a football pitch. When they came over, when the supporters came over onto the pitch, the lads on the popular side, they always used to accuse me of being slow, but I think I surprised a few of them that night.
15 years on, and Jim Scott, who scored United's first that fateful May evening, renews his partnership with Jackie Sinclair, whose goal sparked off those dreadful scenes. Jim's run the Hurlet pub in his native Falkirk since quitting football 10 years ago. And tonight he's playing host to a second special customer.
Tommy, did something to see you. Hello, Tommy. Lovely to see you again.
Tommy Gibbs, the third member of United's Scottish contingent from 1969. This was the first time in almost 15 years that they'd got together, so the talk soon drifted back to the good old days.
I went down last year to Newcastle and I went to see Joe and up the stairs and Fenton Braithwaite was there. And I said to my wife, I said, I'll meet you in Phoenix in an hour. And I could have sat there for all morning. We sat there and we went for reminiscing. I loved every minute. Remember Saragossa, New Year's Day?
Oh, I remember it well. I was sitting getting sunburnt on the bench.
That was some floor that day when they had to, after that trip, wasn't it? I think we were all on the same floor that day. We'd been on the champagne after the game, and a good result. We only got beat 3-2, I think. It was a good result away from home.
Football chat is nothing new in the Hurlet. Jim's partner is his brother Alex, another famous name from his country's footballing past. A shirt swapped with the immortal Pelé is Alex's cherished souvenir from a glittering career with Rangers, Everton and Scotland. Jim himself won a single cap with Gibbs before joining the Magpies in 1967. His Fairs Cup shirt recalls the crowning glory of his career, triumph which, ironically, all three Scots might have missed.
I felt I should be in the team and I hadn't played, and I had a bit of banter and ended up going away and I told him what to do with his team, and I thought that was it. I went up the house and I said to my wife, I think we'll better pack because I think we're finished at Newcastle. However, I went to training Friday morning. It was the first time that season that my name was on the team sheet and we were playing Sunderland the next game in the local derby. And I think it was possibly one of the best games I ever played for Newcastle.
I had only signed about the Monday before the season started and I went home on the Saturday. And I came back on the Monday and Dave Elliott had been injured on the Saturday and I got in the team on the Wednesday and stayed there for about 3.5 years, I think.
But I must be honest, I didn't have a particularly great time at Newcastle. I was expected to do a lot and it just didn't work out.
12 minutes into the first Jackie Sinclair was one of Newcastle's most costly signings at £70,000 from Leicester. Like Scott, he was a typical ball-playing winger, but his failure to establish himself in the first team saw him leave Gallowgate for Sheffield Wednesday just 6 months after the Fairs Cup triumph. He returned to Scotland with Dunfermline before quitting the game for good 8 years ago. Now 40, he earns his living down the mines in his native Fife. Tommy Gibb was the surprise success story of the Fairs Cup run. A bargain 35,000 captures from Partick, his 170 successive appearances is a club record. Though the hard-running midfield player had his share of trouble with the Boo Boys. He left in 1975 for spells with Sunderland and Hartlepool before quitting football to run a pub in Armadale between Glasgow and Edinburgh. After spending almost all his career in the North East, he looks back fondly on his time here.
I enjoyed my stay there. I really liked it down there in the North East, you know. I think I was there 11 years, really. 7 with Newcastle, you know. But I really, the people are something similar to the Scottish people, you know.
I think Newcastle, it's the only team that I've played for. I look for the result on Saturday. I've still got a very soft spot for them.
This year they're doing fantastic, and I just hope they can knock it off and get back up and be where they should be.
This season, in this, the first leg of the European Fairs Cup final. Their opponents tonight.
When the dust had settled, United had just 7 days to prepare for the first leg of the final against Hungarian aces Újpest Dózsa, who boasted 10 internationals, including Antal Dunaj and Ferenc Bene. With another 60,000 crowd packed into St James's Park, United reckoned they needed a 2-goal cushion for the second leg. Despite a goalless first half, Newcastle were to go one better, and they had to thank a most unlikely goal scorer for the breakthrough.
Wyn Davies got a real chance. Moncur, and it's there. A goal. Well, Scott on this ground had got no chance of turning for that, but it's Moncur again for Newcastle. Keeping this defence under pressure all the time. Moncur. Arentoft, Scott still going. It's a goal and a good one. Gibbs got the scorer.
I remember running back after the first goal, and Frank Clark, who, as you know, was trying to score goals for a long, long time. When I came back, he said, "You're the luckiest guy in the world." He said, "It must have bounced 14 times before it went in." I said, "I'm not really bothered as long as they went in." And of course, the second one was just, was like Roy the Rover stuff, really. You know, I got a bigger surprise than anybody, I think. I think I maybe scored in reserve team football, scored a few, but I certainly wasn't renowned as a goal scorer. I think that's what happened to him. I thought, well, I've let him have the ball, there's no way he'll score.
Newcastle's Fairs Cup skipper still holds court on Tyneside, quite literally. This court's his own. 2 weeks ago, Moncur announced that he'd bought Gateshead Squash Club, and he invited your humble reporter to try out the facilities. This venture into the leisure industry means that Moncur, for the time being, has turned his back on the game that he'd graced as a player, then manager for the past 24 years.
I still love the game of football, there's no doubt about that. At some stage in the near future I might get involved in some capacity, but at the moment I'd like to set up, get this club going the way I would like to see it run, and then I've got a nice base to work from there. I'm looking forward to working with people and obviously playing squash as well, or trying to. You know, when you come back to the North East, it's very refreshing because everybody talks about football up here. Now, when you've been around the country like I have, sometimes, you know, you've got to conjure up enthusiasm, whereas here it's the other way around. You can't stop it. And this is one of the last outposts, as far as I'm concerned, for passion.
Until recently, 39-year-old Moncur was still in footballing action, turning out for Plymouth reserves. After resigning as manager on a matter of principle earlier this season, he's experienced the frustration of seeing his former club excite the passion of West Country fans by reaching the semi-final of the FA Cup. Surprisingly for a man who captained his native Scotland, Moncur hasn't achieved great success in management, either with Carlisle, Hearts or Plymouth. He feels that now is the right time to make the break from football.
I felt that the scope to do what you want, to buy and sell, I think that's gone out of the game a little bit. And it's always a struggle in the 3rd and 4th division. So, you know, it's my choice to come out at that level. And hence the reason I'm here, of course, to try and get this going, because it's something I've always fancied doing, as I've said before.
Bob Moncur and his men were taking nothing for granted in the second leg in Hungary a fortnight later. After all, they'd nearly come unstuck against Feyenoord in the very first round. Újpest were to play like men possessed in the first half, and Willie McFaul was called on to make a series of outstanding saves as the Magyars laid siege to the United goal. But with 30 minutes gone, the intense Hungarian pressure told.
Is Bene. Eddie Dunaj. Flick through. And Dalton Bene with the possession. To the net. Bene has scored. That's a good ball, Gorosh. Gorosh going through fast. First for the shot, it's in the goal. A beautiful goal.
2-0 down at the interval, it was a dejected United who trooped into the dressing room. The dream of European glory was turning into a nightmare. The half-time team talk was the most important Joe Harvey ever gave.
Magic Joe came in, smoking a cigarette, and he just said to us, all you got to do against a foreigner, score one goal and they'll collapse like a pack of cards. By which time, the ones who could actually hear, because the sweat was pouring off, his heads were down. And it was one of Joe's greatest sort of tactic talks, if you like. Go out there, score a goal and they'll collapse.
And so in this opening minute of the second half, Bobby Moncur has gone onto the line. There's the cross. Davis is there, and it's blocked away. Comes back to Sinclair in again. Moncur, and Moncur scored. That's Moncur again. Fantastic. Kaposta slipping on the turf, which has now be rather slippery, I would say. Come out to Scott. Scott with a chance. Scott with a shot. Ben Arentoft, it's a goal, a lovely goal. Newcastle have equalised. What a great shot by Ben Arentoft.
If the scenery doesn't tell you where Ben Arentoft is now, the music certainly should. For the Danish midfield player has been back in wonderful Copenhagen these past 10 years.
Ja, vidunderligt koloniophold fra 1984, der må vi sige med det samme.
Now 41, Arentoft works for the city council managing a child welfare scheme. He still plays and coaches in local football. Signed from Morton in March 1969, Arentoft had 2 years at St James's before moving to Blackburn. He remembers well those dramatic events in Budapest.
Well, when we came out to the second half, after we had talked a bit at half-time, we came out and we started very fast ourselves. And I think we scored after only 3 minutes to 2-1. And then after about 6-7 minutes, I scored the second goal to 2 each. And at that time, we knew we won the game.
Was it an easy goal?
It was a very difficult goal. A goal you only score one in your lifetime. After my games for the international team in Denmark, it was the highlight of the career.
Davis winning that one in the air, and Foggon going through the centre. Foggon all by himself, Foggon almost taken down, and Foggon has hit the crossbar, he scored! Foggon has scored. Alan Foggon, the substitute who came on, made a brilliant run.
Alan Foggon, the baby of that Fairs Cup side, has stayed in his native County Durham. We tracked him down to a pub in Spennymoor High Street. Foggon, now 34, has run the Wheat Sheaf with his wife Maureen since April 1982. It's given him a welcome period of stability when his life had seemed to have taken a wrong turning. That brilliant winning goal after he'd come on as sub in the second leg of the final was evidence of an exciting footballing potential Foggon didn't quite fulfil. But he'll never forget those heady days of 1969.
Well, obviously, I was just a young kid. It was a highlight of my career, so obviously, he'll look back on it with great affection.
Alan Foggon left Newcastle for Cardiff in 1971. But it was at Middlesbrough that his career blossomed. When the Borough ran away with the second division title in 1974, Foggon was their leading scorer. He repeated the performance for them in Division 1 the following season, but then the goals dried up and he fell out of favour. He had brief spells at Manchester United, Sunderland, Southend and Hartlepool before going into non-league football with Consett and Whitley Bay. You've obviously made your life for the last 18 months or so in this pub. Do you see your long-term future here?
At the moment, this is our first venture at Public House. We're just learning the trade. Obviously, if we got an offer of a better one, we'd take it. But this will do for a start. You've got to start somewhere.
Hard work, that, isn't it?
Well, playing football is hard work.
There is the whistle, and Newcastle United have won the Intercities Fairs Cup of 1969. So it's Bobby Moncur, the captain of Newcastle United, receiving the Intercities Fairs Cup and showing it to the fans. And the Hungarian fans are cheering as much as the few Tyneside fans. Ian McFaul getting his
I think I've
medal.
still got a hangover from it
Jackie
now.
Sinclair, Win Davis.
No, we had a super time after the match. I don't think we went to bed that night.
Win Davis had played in Budapest with a cracked cheekbone, a legacy from an accidental collision with Bob Moncur in the first leg. As the celebrations continued, mighty Win was under doctor's orders.
After the match,
champagne and everything. But it was coming back to Newcastle because I realised that there'd be thousands, you know, greeting us. And we got to the airport, and apparently I was told that I was only to have one lager. And that
This is because you had an operation coming up?
That's right, yeah. And we got on the coach, and everybody was strapped because, you know, they'd had a few, and there was me, sober as anything, you know, on top of the coach, you know, and I felt really terrible.
It all happened too quickly for us. You know, we never really took it in. And I look back now and realise how much it meant to the Geordie public. As players, you just go, obviously, and try and win your game, do the job. But I didn't realise until I look back now how much it caught the public's imagination.
I wish we were in the First Division so we could go in Europe again. This sets this crowd alight. Europe really did.
Sample life as it used to be down the high street. It's a fascinating way to spend the day with your family and friends. Be